Welcome to Southwest Desert, where adventure meets the arid beauty of the American Southwest. Join us as we explore the rugged landscapes, uncover hidden historical gems, and dive deep into the rich legends and culture of this iconic region. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our latest desert adventures. Please leave a like or comment. This is very helpful. Let's journey together into the heart of the Southwest Desert. What if I told you that somewhere in the arid plains of Texas, buried beneath decades of dust and forgotten by time, lies one of the most valuable treasure hoards in North American history? Not gold from the California Rush or Confederate riches, but Incan treasure, jewel-encrusted golden icons, emeralds as large as goose eggs, and what might be one of the first Bibles ever to reach the Western Hemisphere. A fortune valued between $60 and $100 million, all hidden in Stonewall County, Texas, over 3,000 miles from its origins in Peru. Welcome to Southwest Desert, where we uncover the extraordinary Southwest stories that time forgot. I'm your host, Alan, and today we're following a trail of blood, betrayal, and buried riches from the mountains of Peru to the rugged landscapes of the Texas Panhandle. This is the story of the Lost Inca Treasure. Our story begins in February 1531. 3 Spanish galleons dock at the port of Callao in western Peru. Leading the expedition is Francisco Pizarro, a ruthless conquistador handpicked by the Spanish crown. His mission is simple: find gold, silver, and precious stones, and send them back to Spain. Pizarro didn't come unprepared. With him were 170 armor-clad soldiers, a contingent of priests, and 27 horses. After several months of planning and gathering supplies, they set off into the forested foothills of southeastern Peru. Pizarro's approach was brutally efficient. His men destroyed every village they encountered, killing indiscriminately. Despite weeks of searching and a trail of destruction, Pizarro initially failed to find significant quantities of precious metals. That changed when they discovered Cotapampas, a village nestled in the Andean foothills. Here, at last, they found substantial amounts of gold and jewels. But for Pizarro, it wasn't enough. Through torture, Pizarro extracted crucial information from the villagers. 600 miles northwest lay Cajamarca, an Inca stronghold described as a storehouse of gold, silver, and emeralds. Forcing Cotapampas Indians to serve as guides, Pizarro set his sights on this new target. On November 15, 1532, Pizarro and his men arrived at Cajamarca, a city of approximately 2,000 people. Positioning his soldiers around the city gates, Pizarro sent a priest and interpreter to demand an audience with Atahualpa, the Inca ruler. The Spanish commander demands that you accept Christian teachings immediately, acknowledge the Spanish king as ruler of the world, lay down your arms, and turn over your entire fortune to him. The priest presented Atahualpa with a Bible, implying that accepting the book meant accepting all their demands. Incensed, Atahualpa hurled the Bible to the ground and retreated into the city. This was all the provocation Pizarro needed. With a battle cry, Pizarro's men crashed through the city gates, unleashing what historians describe as one of the bloodiest slaughters in the history of South America. Atahualpa was brought before Pizarro in chains. The conquistadors' ransom demand was extraordinary, enough gold and silver to fill 3 rooms, each measuring 22 by 17 feet, and as high as a man can reach, and Atahualpa had just 2 months to meet these demands if he wanted to live. According to journals kept by Pizarro's secretary, Atahualpa was beloved among the Incas. Citizens quickly began collecting gold and silver to save their ruler. This is where our story takes an unexpected turn. Atahualpa sent one of his captains, Rumiani, northward to Quito with a small party of warriors. Their mission: use a pack train of llamas to retrieve the city's gold and silver, but Rumiani failed to return on time. Pizarro sent a military detail of 12 men, accompanied by a priest and interpreter, to investigate. When they arrived in Quito, they found the city in chaos. Misunderstandings had led the citizens to refuse to surrender their gold, and fighting had broken out. Eventually, the Spanish quelled the riots, and the llamas were loaded with gold, silver, and gems. But something changed in the Spanish captain commanding the expedition. Perhaps it was the sheer magnitude of wealth before him, or the distance from Pizarro's watchful eye. Whatever the reason, greed took hold. The captain conspired with 6 of his soldiers to betray Pizarro. Their plan was bold: travel north with the fortune into uncharted territory, far enough that Pizarro wouldn't pursue them. They sent one fully loaded pack train back to Cajamarca with the non-conspirators, instructing them to tell Pizarro that a second pack train would follow in days. After waiting for the first group to get well ahead, the captain headed north with his 6 conspirators, several Incas to tend the llamas, and a priest. Meanwhile, Pizarro, despite receiving the entire ransom, had Atahualpa strangled in front of his subjects. He continued his military campaign, sacking additional cities and amassing a tremendous store of wealth to send back to Spain. So occupied with his conquests, Pizarro gave little thought to the deserters and made no attempt to apprehend them. The northward trek of the Spanish deserters is shrouded in mystery. We have no record of how long it took, only that it was untold months. They followed prehistoric trade routes through mountains and valleys, coastlines and deserts, through Central America and Mexico, and finally into unexplored Texas. Join my Patreon community and discover my art print products on my website in the links provided in my description. Also, if you would like a particular image from my videos, give the timestamp for image, and I will upload it to my website and Patreon. Thank you. Along the way, they encountered many friendly indigenous peoples who provided food and directions. They endured extreme drought and monsoon-like rains, suffered hardship, disease, and starvation. But they persevered, always motivated by fear of pursuit by the relentless Pizarro and the dream of establishing their own kingdom with their stolen wealth. Throughout the journey, the captain created a detailed map on a large piece of rawhide, burning inscriptions into the material with coals from their campfire. Finally, the pack train arrived in what is now called the Double Mountain Country of Stonewall County, Texas. The Spanish noticed they were being watched and followed by indigenous peoples, making them nervous and vigilant. After traveling north of Double Mountain for another day, they decided to make camp and rest on the banks of what is now called the Salt Fork of the Brazos River. The captain ordered his men to dig 21 holes, each quite deep. The treasure from the pack animals was placed in these holes. The priest placed his Bible, wrapped and tied in soft leather, atop one of the treasure piles. That night, by campfire, the captain recorded the treasure's location on his rawhide map. The group remained in the area for several days, resting and planning their next move. And then, silence. The historical record ends at that campground on the Salt Fork of the Brazos. Researchers believe the group fell prey to an indigenous attack after burying the treasure. After the Civil War, the area attracted settlers who came to ranch. The legend of the buried Incan treasure was often on the lips of residents, but few made serious attempts to find it. Then, in 1876, interest in the treasure revived with the arrival of an elderly Spaniard. He came in a fine carriage pulled by 2 stately horses and quietly purchased several parcels of land along the Salt Fork. Initially, settlers assumed he planned to establish a ranch. Instead, he moved into a tent on his property and rarely visited settlements to purchase goods. He was described as behaving somewhat mysteriously and was always seen carrying a large piece of rawhide, a map, which he constantly studied during his few public appearances. Then, just as mysteriously as he had arrived, the Spaniard disappeared after several months. There's no record of the Spaniard's fate, but evidence suggests he recovered a large portion of the treasure. But the story doesn't end there. Shortly after the turn of the century, a younger Spaniard arrived, also carrying an ancient rawhide map. Many believed he was a relative, possibly the son of the first Spaniard, and that it was the same map from 25 years earlier. He hired 4 men as laborers for digging and spent days checking landmarks, constantly referring to his rawhide map. The workers excavated 4 skeletons in the first hole, but nothing else. They dug holes nearly 15 feet deep at other locations, but found nothing. Unable to pay his workers, the Spaniard offered them a share in future gold discoveries. After days of fruitless digging, the workers grew hostile and threatened him. Terrified, the Spaniard gathered his map and possessions and fled, never to be seen again in the area. Over the decades, other clues emerged. Spider rocks with unusual markings suggesting Spanish origin were found in the area, along with Spanish relics. Other treasure hunters came and went. A man named Arnold, in his late 70s with physical infirmities and going through a troublesome divorce, was forced to abandon his search due to health issues and personal problems. Walter Leach, a former wolf hunter from Rotan, concentrated his search near the confluence of the Salt and Double Mountain Forks. Though he failed to find the main Incan hoard, he discovered a cache of gold worth $12,000 and several Spanish artifacts buried with it. In the following months, he located other smaller caches of gold and silver, though none as large as his first discovery. Perhaps the most dedicated searcher was Frank D. Olmsted, a well-heeled Illinois farmer who somehow acquired the rawhide map. He claimed he purchased it and another map from a Spanish priest during a California vacation. Olmsted studied everything available about the Lost Inca Treasure and was captivated by the tale and fascinated by the possibility of finding the cache. He moved to the Salt Fork area and purchased several hundred acres, including the same plot owned by the first Spaniard. His search lasted 28 years until his death. Intriguingly, he told a confidant that he would trade the entire treasure just to find the Bible. How Olmsted learned about the Bible remains a mystery. He dug thousands of holes without success and died at age 63. He was buried on his property, and some suggest he may repose atop one of the rich caches he sought. Today, at least a portion of the Incan treasure still lies hidden in the rough and broken country near the Salt Fork of the Brazos River in Stonewall County, Texas. Next time you drive through the Texas Panhandle, past Stonewall County and the Salt Fork of the Brazos, remember, you might be driving over one of the greatest lost treasures in North American history. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman Alan for another Southwest Gold story. Check out my large catalog of Southwest videos and playlists on historical tales, legends, lost gold stories, and adult bedtime stories. If you like a certain image from my videos, tell me in comments and give timestamp. Happy trails. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.